Good evening, everyone. Today, as you can see in the description, I want to have a reaction video on a video that I found on the internet. It's produced by the BBC, so special thanks to them. This one, I think it was released or it was on the TV several years ago, maybe 2-3 years ago. So it's a very interesting program about old stuff people bring to that barn, to the repair shop, and they will fix it. They will try sometimes to bring it back as new, or they just fix it. But sometimes they just keep also the patina and that it is still old looking, but you can use it. Yeah, so very interesting program. They still make it, so definitely I can recommend it to watch this show. So really nice, and thumb up for that show. So a recommendation for the repair shop. So let's go to the video.
I'm Jay.
Hi.
Right.
I'm Phil.
Hi. So what have you got for us?
We have a watch.
Steve? Sounds like a job for you.
Oh, I didn't mention it. In this episode they will repair a watch. A special one.
Come on,
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Having seen the repair shop at home in the Netherlands, Ron Schemmering and his wife Toos have travelled over 300 miles in search of horologist Steve's expertise.
This is the watch, and it was a
Wow, really great looking watch. So,
watch of my grandfather and my grandmother. And this is what you would call the Albert chain.
Yes.
And this is my grandmother.
Okay.
They were living in Indonesia before the war. After the Japanese invaded Indonesia in the Second World War,
Yeah.
they were both arrested and sent to the prisoners of war camp.
All right.
Yeah. My grandfather was taken to the Burma Railway to work there, and my grandmother was taken to a women's camp on Sumatra.
Right.
Fleeing from your house and being arrested, the only thing she could take with her was this watch. So she sewed it in her clothes, and it stayed there as long as she was in the prisoner of war camp.
How long was she in the prison? How long was
4
she?
years.
4 years. She sold that in there.
In her
Wow.
dress. Yeah.
so as you didn't see, this is an Invicta. So you can hear the story. It's in a watch that just survived the war camp with his grandma.
I know items like this were traded as currency.
For food.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And not only would she be hiding this from the guards, but hiding it from the other interned people as well. So,
Yeah.
so this
Fascinating.
means a huge amount to you.
It is. There is no family history except the watch.
This is it.
That's the only
This is it.
photograph.
So after my grandmother passed
That's really. I think this is a piece, one of a kind. Just something. It's also very special for his family. So it's the only thing he has from the past of that part of his family in Indonesia. So mind blowing.
away in 1964. My father got it. My father passed away 5 years ago. So now it's
past a year.
yeah.
How well did you know your grandparents?
Well, I was 5 or 6 when my grandmother passed away. So I know her as the lady in the chair with smoking her cigarettes.
Have you ever
Yeah.
seen it work? Has it ever been?
No. I never seen it work because when I got it from my father, it was in this state.
Right.
The hands are missing, the glass is missing.
The case is slightly dented, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm looking at this and thinking,
So I think just directly by seeing this watch, this is a massive golden watch. So it's not golden plated. So I brought one of my watches. So this one that I got here, this is gold plated or gold filled. So, but in this case is gold plated, but the one in this video is massive golden. So it's more expensive already because of the case is made out of gold.
I don't want to do it up too much.
It has to keep its provenance.
Exactly, yeah.
There's always will stay
Keep it
in the
original.
family. We don't have children, but I have a nephew who is crazy about family things, and it will go to him.
Yeah.
Ron must now return to Holland, taking the chain with his grandmother's picture with him, but leaving the treasured watch at the repair shop with Steve.
It's the only thing left from my grandmother, and the time before 1945. I went to England for this guy, so I'm sure he can.
I'm pretty sure this one is much older. I'm almost sure this watch is maybe from 1920, from the 1920s.
So
But it's possible that it's maybe also 1930s. I can't see the movement on the inside, but because of the style, I think it's the 30s.
I'm excited.
This is a really amazing watch, and it's even more amazing considering the history that it's had. The fact that it was sewn into a dress for 4 years in a prisoner of war camp. I think it's really surprising that it's actually survived in this state.
Yeah, it's a beautiful case.
A watch
You can
this
see
size
directly.
calls for some serious magnification.
It's got some things in the case.
You can directly see it. The finishing on the case. It's very nicely decorated. It is a beautiful watch.
The mechanism is fairly gunged up, actually. It certainly needs a jolly good clean through.
Whenever you get that eye out, you know I want to have a go. How can I have a look at what you're seeing?
There you go.
Thank you. Oh, wow. So can you see why it's not working?
There is power getting through there, so I think with just a good overhaul, maybe some work.
So I can see directly on the balance wheel, it doesn't have an Inca block shock protector. So that's an indication that this watch is it's older, because most watches that has Inca block are from maybe the 40s or the 50s. So I guess this one is maybe from 1920 or maybe 1930.
To the escapement.
So will all of that, see that this kind of dirt mark around there, that will go then, yeah?
Some of it will, not all of it.
Okay.
Well, because we want to leave some of the history.
Yeah, and have a little hand in the middle?
Yep, straighten these hands up, put a seconds hand on. And it really gives me great satisfaction to actually take a clock or a watch that's important to somebody, and you're keeping it alive, keeping it going for future generations.
Yeah,
you've got to have a passion or a love to do this type of work.
It is absolutely a passion.
You want to go the extra mile, because you do go the extra mile.
Assessment complete. Steve's made a decision. This watch is too small and too precious to work on in the repair shop barn. So he's taken it off-site for specialist cleaning.
I really need to strip it down to check and see what the problems are, because these mechanisms are so fine that any dust that's falling out of this old thatched barn could affect it. It really needs to be in that clean environment.
Back at his bench, Steve's resuming work on the Pocketwatch that had spent 4 years hidden in a dress in a World War II prisoner of war camp. He's now...
It's a shame they didn't mention the brand name of this watch. They didn't told anything about the history of this brand. I know it's an old Invicta, so it's not an old expensive brand like Patek Philippe or something like that. But still, I think most of watchmakers know a little. They know a little background history of such brands. I'm pretty sure. You can always look it up on the internet. So if they produce such show.
Ready to rebuild the watch and has called upon Cindy Welland, a specialist dial restorer.
I'm just tracing all of the numerals.
So before they told that they don't want to redial the dial of the watch. So they want to keep it mostly just original. So that's something I also prefer. So with redial, they just repainting the dial. I don't like that when they do that with watches. But cleaning the watch and cleaning the dial, I think that's okay. And maybe doing a little redial, and maybe that's also okay, but not totally. I think it's you're hurting also the watch if you just do a redial. But sometimes a watch is just really in a bad shape, and in that case, maybe I can understand that people will do that.
So if anything disappears during the cleaning process, I've then got a 2-scale replica of it. The most important thing is that we keep as much of it as original as possible, conserving it rather than restoring it. Give this a gentle clean. I'm going to use a diluted solvent, and if we're lucky, this discoloration will come off without causing too much damage to the numerals. It just takes time and being very gentle. I think I'm going to be quite lucky.
Yeah, be gentle and careful with old dials. Also, when you just have an old watch, don't just open it and touch it with your fingers. Also on the movement, don't touch it with your fingers. Always use like some plastic tool just to touch or to rotate the rotor. Because your fingers also has some exit on it. And it can just damage your watch, your movements. It can damage the dial of the watch. So always be careful when you open your watch.
The solvent is taking off the dirt and not taking off the ink that the numerals are painted with. They seem to be staying on quite well.
Clean-up mission accomplished. As Steve begins the rebuild, Cindy must painstakingly hand-paint the numerals that measure mere microns across.
Wow.
I finished.
Hey, fantastic.
I'm quite happy with it now. The numerals stand out.
That is really good. And the minute ring is just incredible.
It was tricky.
I think that is brilliant.
You can still see some of the discoloration, but...
Yeah. And I think because you haven't cleaned it, all off and shone it up, I think that actually, that's going to keep the integrity of the piece. I think they're going to be so pleased with this. I'm chuffed to bits with that, so
Good.
Well done.
Steve's nearly finished putting the microscopic components of the war watch mechanism back together.
I'm just putting the final, more delicate parts in. Quite nervous about doing this.
That's the hand of the small second that you just saw.
Actually, because I find these jobs, doing such small jobs, quite difficult. I usually work on clocks, not watches, so to do such an important watch is quite pressurised.
With the workings rebuilt, all that's left is to see if it ticks.
I'm just going to pop a little bit of power on now and see how we get on. And hopefully, this is a sort of moment of truth.
If the mechanism doesn't whir back into life, Steve will be back to square one.
That's good. Really pleased. Really pleased. So that's really good because actually it means that there wasn't anything drastic wrong.
So let's go some seconds back. So what you can see here is the balance wheel. So the part that you see here, maybe you can see it maybe here in the center of the screen, that small jewel without the Inca block shock protection, what I mentioned earlier. So that's why I think it's a little bit older watch than maybe they earlier told. I think they told that this watch is from the 40s. But I'm thinking it's from the 30s or maybe the 20s.
So that's really good because actually it means that there wasn't anything drastic wrong with the watch, and it was just dirt and grime that's holding it up. I'm just going to pop the hands on now. These hands just push on friction tight. Okay, we've got a slight problem. It's stopped. Okay. Well, that's a relief. It was just the seconds hand touching the dial. Thank goodness for that. The seconds hand is actually attached to a very fine part of the mechanism, and the slightest bit of friction actually will stop the watch. So it's very important that doesn't touch the dial. So very pleased that that's all it was.
With the mechanism up and running, Steve can begin to fit the delicate watch back into its casing. It's been a challenging repair for clockmaker Steve, working on the minute pocket watch, which had seen turbulent times in a World War II prison camp.
There's the timekeeper. How we doing, Steve?
Yeah.
It's really a gorgeous watch. So the watch itself, it's a really nice, fine timepiece. You can see it's the case is really beautiful, decorated with some engravings. Yeah, I would love to have it, but yeah, I know it's a part of their family. So it has some emotional value. With objects like watches, you always have in family some emotional values. Some people just don't have. You can find on the internet people they ask, what is this watch worth? I got it from my father or grandfather. And sometimes the watch itself is not expensive. If you will sell it, sometimes you can sell it only for $30 or $40. But emotional value, you cannot measure it with money.
Good, thanks. Got all the mechanism done. It's ticking away beautifully. Look at that.
Oh, yeah. But you know what? I need to sit through that.
You do?
It's that way, isn't it? Is it? No. Oh, it's that way. Oh, wow.
With the watch completed,
Oh, look at that.
Steve's now got the
Beautiful.
important mission of hand-delivering this valuable heirloom back to its owner.
So, part of it.
I'm very excited at last to see the watch back. Everybody will be excited to see it restored in its original appearance.
This watch is the only item connecting Ron to his ancestors. It survived the horrors of a prisoner of war camp, kept hidden by Ron's grandmother, sewn into her dress for 4 years. But the rigors of its journey had left the watch broken and battered.
After surviving the war, it should be in one piece again. Yeah.
Good.
It's the end of the road, isn't it?
It's his memory for his grandmother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I there?
It's home again.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks.
It was an emotional moment for me because I loved my mother-in-law very, very much, and I knew what a difficult time she had. I think this watch is a symbol of courage, and for us, very important.
So, let's go back to back. Wow, really amazing, the story. I really like it. And also what they did with the watch. Yeah, they painted the numerals on the dial. Again, they redialed the numerals. So yeah, maybe I can also understand it. It's also now in a much better state. But the end product, it's a really beautiful watch I think it's also with a very emotional story behind it, about a woman who was in a military camp, and they protected that watch, and it is in the family now, and it's the only thing they have about their heritage. It's the only watch the only thing they can grab. Something from the past, from the mother. Really beautiful story. So this was something I really wanted to share with you guys. So let me know down below in the comments what you think about this story, and maybe you also have something in your family, maybe an object. It can be a watch, it can be also something else, maybe some jewels or something else. Just let me know if you have something, and maybe also I really like to hear your stories. So I hope you like this video, and if you like it, give it a thumb up and subscribe down below to my channel, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.